Hi everyone, welcome back to Black and Brown Crowns. I'm Cheyenne, your host, as y'all already know. Today we'll be speaking to Miss SeQuoia about being a doula. Now I know there might be a lot of you that are like, okay, what's a doula versus what's a midwife? So this is the interview that tells the difference and also can help lead you into either one of those paths. Hi SeQuoia, how are you doing?
Good. Hi, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a pretty hectic morning, but I mean, we're both here.
Same. I feel that.
Well, what does it mean to be a doula versus being a midwife?
So a doula is someone who is we don't have it. Well, let me speak for doulas in general because I do have medical background. But in general, doulas are non-medical support people. So their role is to support a person who is pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant before, during, and after they give birth. And we provide support through like education, teaching people how to advocate for themselves, letting them know what their birthrights are, and really cheering that person on and being a resource to that person so they can ask questions if they need something researched. And then that's the preparation phase. And then once the person goes into labor, your doula shows up with you, whether you're delivering at the hospital or delivering at home with a licensed provider. And we use like all of our different techniques that we've learned, like double hip squeeze, massages, aromatherapy, so many things to help you cope with the laboring process. And then after you give birth, your doula comes and helps, help you unpack your birthing experience, help you with some newborn care. Some of us cook so that the person is, healing properly from their delivery. And that's the gist of it. So we typically stay with our clients for at least a few weeks after. Some people hire doulas to go on for a few months to provide that additional support right after childbirth. A midwife is somebody who is going to have medical training. That is the biggest difference. Midwives are oftentimes licensed or certified. So you have certified midwives, licensed midwives. There's a whole thing going on with midwifery. But the main thing is that they are your healthcare provider. So some people go to an OB, obstetrician, some people go to a midwife. Midwives can some midwives do hospital births, some midwives do home births, some midwives do birth centers. But the midwife is the healthcare provider. They're going to be the one to manage and assess your labor, make recommendations, step in and help if in a case of emergency. That's what the midwife role is. And then the doula role is just to be there, to assist, to provide, emotional, physical, psychological, mental support.
Are there different education pathways that you have to take for
Mhm.
each position?
Yeah. So for doula care, you only have to be certified. I mean, again, in general, there are some people who are called like lay doulas who just, we all have doulas in our family. If you probably think about it, there's somebody in your family who, when somebody had a baby, they call that person, or grandma or auntie. Like doula care, like doula support has been around for generations. We all, even for cross cultures, we have ways that women supporting women. That's really just how things have been for our culture. So but then what we see is like this formalized doula care. Like, what does it look like? So I was trained through this organization called Village Birth International, and we had to do a 40-hour training. So it was like 5 days a week, 8 hours, where we were learning about the birthing process. We're learning about reproductive justice, birth justice, like how to show up, how to support. It's very, very like intense training where you're getting a lot of information. Our training had mentorship embedded in it. So we met with our mentor once a month. We met with our mentor individually. We had to, within that year following our training, we had to attend 3 births, whether it was at hospitals, whether it was one C-section, 2 vaginal births, really, that's what the requirement was. And we had to read a couple different books to kind of inform us. I attended childbirth education classes. I attended a breastfeeding class. So it is a lot of work. A lot of people think like, oh, I'm just going to show up at the birth. Like, no, 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 no. There is so much information. And even as a doula, I'm going in my 7th year. There are stuff that I'm still learning, still unpacking, still understanding how these systems work. So yes, so there are different there's different certifications. So doulas, you just gotta be certified. And that process is usually a year to year and a half of getting all those classes in, those births in. When you are a midwife, so let's talk about like in New York State right now, you could be a certified midwife or a certified nurse midwife. Certified nurse midwife requires a nursing degree and then a master's in midwifery. If you want to be a certified midwife, without a nursing, then you would just go apply to a midwifery program, a master's midwifery program. And then what we also have, which is something that I'm leaning towards, is becoming a CPM, so a certified professional midwife. And it's a 3-year program. It's a, very comprehensive, program. But right now, they're not legal in New York State. So we're pushing for CPM to be legal because that it has more of a community-based model. And that's what I personally want to do. I want to be in the community and not in hospitals. If you're a student, 9 times out of 10, the route that people take is the CNM route, which requires a bachelor's in nursing and a master's in midwifery. So CNM, CM, that is where you're going to need those college degrees.
Okay, thank you. Has COVID changed anything with this field, being a doula?
Yeah, so when COVID first, declared a pandemic, it was many of us, well, I was in nursing school, so I wasn't doing birth work, but for a lot of my doula sisters, like we had to pause. You had to figure out like, we know that we don't want Black women going into hospitals laboring alone because that just sounds like a recipe for disaster. But then it was like, but how do we protect ourselves? And right in the beginning, like hospitals were like, no support people. Like there are people who deliver by themselves, not even a partner, not even a husband, during the pandemic. And then we were doing a lot of virtual work. But some people need that in-person one-on-one care. So as things, more information has come out, we've put a lot of, we had got donations of masks. So we like gave our doulas masks, gave our clients masks so that we could at least still do in-person home visits, prenatal visits. And then if we couldn't go to the hospital, we would be virtual. Now, fast forwarding to a year later, we, in New York State, the governor signed a mandate or whichever saying that doulas must be permitted into the hospitals. And just because there's a mandate don't mean that everything is streamless. So what we see is that from our experiences, the Black doulas have been, when we show up, they're like, oh, where's your certification? Where's your evidence that you're a doula? And we don't like community-based doulas. We don't walk around with badges. Like I'm not a healthcare provider. Why I don't have no badge to say I'm a doula. Like this interrogation of who is a doula, has been a whole other barrier. And it's the state says that a doula can be permitted. Hospitals are like, okay, cool. We know what the state said, but now we got to interrogate and make sure that person is a doula. That's not your job. That's not your job. Like they do it too much. Like you are creating an unnecessary barrier. Somebody mama come up there and say she her doula. That's her doula. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't get to dictate who the doula is. So again, when we talk about this, like this need to police people's experiences, this needs to interrogate and police people's support. That is just disgusting. Imagine I'm showing up in labor and my doula getting a 3rd degree. I need her here supporting me, not getting kicked out and said she can't. Like they don't get it. They don't get it. I'm sorry, I'm venting. So so it was great that the governor we had like something mandated by the state, but the local hospitals have not made it easy for us.
Where can people find more information about being a doula? Like, is there a specific website or an organization that they can follow and look for?
Yeah, so you can so I would say Village Birth International. If you're in New York State or New Jersey, Village Birth International, I'm always hype them up. There are, Ancient Song. They're based in the East Coast, but I believe they do virtual trainings. Also, like the National Black Doula Association, I believe they have information. So to use that, you go on there and just you can just Google like Black Doula Training Orgs or something like that. If you want to be a community-based doula, like there are like birth collectives, like Chicago Birth Collective, or Minneapolis Birth Collective. I'm just throwing these out there. So yeah, so figure out, I would just Google birth collectives, like Black birth collectives or Black and Brown birth collectives in your city that start there. But people could also, feel free to reach out to Doula for a Queen, doulaforqueen@gmail.com or villagebirthinternational.org. I'll send this information to Cheyenne so that she can have these resources and links for you. But I'm a DM away. I don't mind people DM me all the time. And I'm like, give me a couple days, let me do a little research. Or I'll say, hey, these are some things you should search for. So yeah.
Well, thank you. And I know a lot of people out there will appreciate that, especially to be able to connect with the person that I'm interviewing, because it's like one DM away instead of having to do all the types of research and then get nowhere, or like run into a brick wall. So thank you.
Doula care allows me to honor my ancestors in a way that continues to heal my community. And I think that when we think about the tradition of Black liberation efforts, it's all about continuing that work, continuing that